Welcome to Six Gun Guitar. This is Luthier Lessons. This time around we're going to talk about soldering and just give you a quick lesson on that. I hadn't soldered a guitar in probably about 10 years because I hadn't made electrics in that long. And when I did this last electric bass, I didn't even know where my old soldering gun was, don't even remember what I used. So I went down and got a new one. You know, it had to monkey with it a little bit just to kind of get the hang of doing it again. So I kind of wanted to show everybody how to do that. It's a lot easier than it looks, and it's actually, I mean, I debated making a video about it or not. But I mean, it was enough of a question for me that I did a little checking online before I did it and did a little fooling around first. And it's not the very hard concept. You melt the metal, it holds the wire to the, to the pot or to the switch. But you need to know how to do it right. You need to know how to add enough and not too much. And you need not to make it look like hell if somebody goes in the back of there and takes a look. So all you're going to need to do this, and I went down and got mine from Home Depot. Just pick up a little soldering gun. This is a Weller. It was 40 bucks. Can't beat it. It plugs in. The other one I think was 20. It ran on batteries. I just didn't know how long batteries were going to last, so I decided to go with the plug-in model. But that's it. It takes about 35 seconds to heat up, which is pretty nice because the heating element is in the tip. And the other thing that you'll need is rosin core solder that has the flux already in it. So it's way better than having to paint the flux on, put the solder on, touch it, do the thing. It's already got it in there. It's just one-stop shop, and it's done, and it's ready to go. It makes things a lot easier. So what I'm going to do now is I'll bring you over the bench and show you what I'm going to repair. Oddly enough, before I was doing this video, I was kind of kicking around which of my instruments I was going to destroy by cutting a couple wires to show everybody how to solder things back together. And I was at my friend's house, and he had a couple of guitar cables that when you move the cable a little bit from side to side when it plugs in, the amplifier would cut in and out, so that just means loose connections. So if you got a couple of guitar cables that kind of pop and buzz and stuff like that, unscrew the end and pull it back, put a little solder on both sides and make sure the connections are right, and it'll fix that. So I got a couple of cables to fix, so I figured better than breaking my stuff, we can fix somebody else's. So I bring you over to the bench and show you how to do a couple solder connections with the Weller soldering gun. So here's a plug that I've got, and I'm zoomed all the way in on it, but essentially all I did was take my regular guitar cable here and unscrew this back portion and pull it back, and that exposes all the stuff on the inside. So I'm not going to do this one as well because this one was already done, or this one is messed up too, but I plugged in the soldering gun. It takes about 35 seconds to heat up. What happened here is this little bit of solder kind of came off on the wire here, so it doesn't really want to stay on very well with the connections because that moves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this back over here with some more of the wire. I'm going to push this wire down by the jacket here. Now that the soldering iron is ready to go, I like to just take my wire and pull a little bit of it out like this, and it stays on its own, so it's just nice so it can stay straight. All you got to do is get the tip near here and start feeding it solder and let it melt right onto what you want to solder together. So what I'm going to do is move this solder piece off because I need to be able to get the jacket on really good. So I'm going to come in, melt a little solder in there, kind of see where it goes. You can reheat it kind of as you go, but got that on there, and now the connection is nice and solid. So now I'm going to come up here and just kind of reinforce the connection that's on this side by getting a little solder on there. You want to try to get too much on your wire. You don't want to melt the jackets, but you definitely want to get enough so you get a good connection. So that's on there. Got both ends soldered up. Now, less is more when it comes to solder, especially on the inside of your guitar cavity when you're doing connections. So under normal circumstances where it'd be visible on the inside there, I wouldn't put quite as much as this on. I do a little bit smaller amount. But I'm going to switch out for the other one now, and we'll show you how to do that really quick. So the problem with this one was that these wires started coming loose, this big bundle of wires right here, and they started coming down and actually touching this contact down here. So what was happening is as you would move, these wires would touch here, the whole thing would short out. So what I did was I went ahead and pulled all these wires up and onto the good side, and what I'm doing is I'm going to come back and put a little bit of solder on that, so that way the solder stays on and stays where it needs to be. And that'll keep those wires from falling off and going back down to the other side and touching the other terminal, which is killing the circuit. So again, just a little bit of solder, nice little drop just like that. Now I caught the vast majority of my wires And a couple more of them down here. I'm just going to give one more little tap. Just kind of spread that out a bit. And that's that. That one's soldered up. Now the bottom connection looks really, really good. But still, just for thoroughness, I'm just going to drop a shade more solder on there and get that on there good so that way it stays well too. So that's soldering basics. I'll show you one more thing, how to braze a wire together to another wire really quickly, and then that should wrap it up. The last thing I'm going to show you here with the soldering gun is if you have two wires, you need to put them together. You can take the two of them, give them a little twist, and I've got these couple little holes here which are nice and convenient to kind of hold the wire for me. So I put the wire here, just put a little twist in it. There's not a lot of instances in guitar making where you're going to need to put wire together like this, but it's nice to know just in general, you know, what the soldering is capable of. Now I've got these twisted around. I'm going to come on here and I'm going to drip some solder on here, and it's actually going to fill all the voids between there and make a really, really good connection. From there you can bend this down, wrap it with electrical tape to make sure that it's completely insulated, and you'll be good to go from there. But again, I'm just going to take the solder, and you can actually see me feed it because I'm going to feed a good deal of it here into the wire, into the gun itself, or into the tip. So you just kind of feed the solder in, and it coats it really well, and that is together. And actually I even got a little too much, got some drip on the bottom there, but you can clean that off. And again, I can go a little further back if I want, feed some more, and then brazes those two guys together and keeps them together, keeps them from falling apart, maintains the electrical connection. So like I said, practice on a couple little pieces with your soldering gun, and you'll be ready to go from there. If you have any questions, it's 6gunguitars@gmail.com. Again, that's 6gunguitars@gmail.com. And for these cables that we've got finished up here, literally all you have to do at the last bit is just slide it up, screw it back on, and you're good to go. So you get to practice a little soldering, and you get to fix a couple little guitar cables, because it seems like there's a timer in these things, and every couple of years they just start to crack and go bad. So, but that is it for soldering.